Welcome back. Again, Chef Chip here with Smokehouse. Today we're going to play with some basic barbecue. The pork butt and our brisket. We're going to show you two different rubs with the brisket. We're going to show you how to make extra burn ends. We're going to split a brisket and we're going to make some tender, juicy pork butt. So when we come back here, we're going to get fired up and get this meat in the smoker. The first two we're going to look at is our brisket and our pork butt. And as whole pieces, they're the easiest pieces to get set up for your smoker. Super easy. You literally just have to rub them down, slam them in the smoker, let them cook. Now that's the hard part. You got to leave the smoker closed and leave it alone for a long time. Pork butts, about 17 hours for me. The brisket, we let it run closer to 12 or 14. We cook them all overnight. Hardwood hickory, low and slow, 210, never above, and we let them go. Close the door, leave them, forget them. Set them and forget it, is the old Ronco saying. And that's exactly the way we leave our smoked brisket and pork in the smoker. So the butt is the easiest part. You've got the pork butt, the shoulder, okay? And again, we're gonna rub it down. And we are gonna coat this in just our basic barbecue rub. This is our sweet and smoky rub. So we're going to be able to get a nice color on it. We're not going to go real heavy. We want it to cover. There's two ways you can set it down in a smoker. It's kind of a personal opinion. I prefer fat up. I want my fat to cook down into it and run around the edges and seal it as it cooks. I've got others that like to cook it fat down, and that way when they peel it out, it peels that cap off. It's just less they're dealing with later. So it's a personal preference, but that's ready. Right here is our brisket. Nice big beautiful piece. I want to throw a shout out to my boys at Charlie's Butcher. They made my day today. Took care of me on this beautiful piece of beef. Great job, thank you, boss. But in the meantime, normally straight kosher salt, black pepper. I want to cut this down for you first so I can show you the decal and the flat. Your brisket as a whole has both pieces. You can separate it out when you purchase it, and you can cut it yourself out of the whole piece, but there's two pieces. This flatter end down here, that's the flat. Runs right up underneath, down through and up under there. This end down here is your decal. Your flat's very lean. Ladies, if you're trying to avoid the fat or don't like the fat, you want to stay off the decal. The decal's got a lot of marbling and fat up inside of it. More tender, more juicy, but it's got all that fat. So you've got two pieces there. Briskets always got a thick, coarse layer of fat along that outside. Because I'm splitting this to show you, we're going to take and we're going to hack some of that down. I leave it all on when I smoke it as a whole piece, and I don't trim it till afterwards so that all that fat carries up, down, and through it. But we're going to trim some of this down simply because I want to be able to see where that decal and that brisket separate over here in a minute. So we're going to take this large chunk of top fat right off the top of this. And you'll see once it starts to go, it'll help guide your knife. It doesn't want you to touch the meat either. It doesn't mind giving up its fat, but it does not want you to touch its meat. On the outside back, you see this large, muscly fat here. That's tough. You don't want to leave it on there. It does not eat well at all. We're going to split that down. I got a little deep there, but we'll be all right. Get that out of the way. Flip it over here. You see, again, some more of that fat that we want to trim out here. It just doesn't eat. You can cook that for forever, and it will still be there. I can not get that to break. So there's no point in messing with that. You can see right here, we've got this piece here. It's literally capped in like a V. So we're going to come in, follow that down. And again, you can already sort of see where the flat here with it upside down runs down here, and that fat there separates out. And I'm just going to cut a V. I know it's on my side here. You're gonna have to trust me just a little bit, but I don't want to cut myself while I'm in there. So I'm working my way down in there. Okay. You can see that decal is gonna start to peel back. And I can literally pull that decal in, that fat top big end off as I go back. She's gonna separate herself right out, right off the top for me. She's just gonna keep peeling back. We'll try real hard not to throw it off on the board on you, but it is a big, wonderful piece of meat. We're gonna separate that out. Bring that down right here for you and clear that piece of top decal right off. Here we go. Coming now down off the back. And we're gonna clear it right here just so we've got the decal piece now back here ready to rock and roll. You can see the fat, it's all still up in there. This fat here you can take off if you'd like. Again, I told you it sits in a V-type pattern. You see here as I cut it out. If you're cooking it whole, again, leave it all on there. You only really want to take this stuff off if you're trying to separate it out to cut two different pieces, because all this gets very tender and will slice right out for you when it's hot. All right, there we go. One decal, one flat. I'll show you a couple different rubs today with our brisket. I'm gonna do one our house style. Again, a little oil. And then just kosher salt and black pepper. And the fat will do most of the work on your brisket with your wood. And that's our house. If you watch the TV shows, you'll see a lot of Texas barbecue, and it gets its mustard rub. They love their mustard rub. So they'll come in with the yellow mustard. They'll smear that yellow mustard all around in there. And then they come back real heavy with the black pepper. I prefer the cracked black, the quarter cracked. Works really well. I like the crunch that I get out of it, but any black pepper will work. You can hit a little salt, but that's your Texas style brisket right there. And she'll crust up and get a beautiful bark in that smoker. So those are both ready to go. And we'll get cleaned up here. I'm gonna go load these up in our smoker, 210 hard hickory wood. And then we'll be back to work on some different things we can do with all these. All right, so we've got all that in the smoker. I've got a beautiful piece of brisket back here that I've got resting for a minute from where I stayed up all night to make sure it was ready for you guys today. We're gonna let that rest for a minute. We're gonna show you a couple different slaws, but first, burn ends. Burn ends coming right out of the smoker are great. The problem is there's only a couple pieces of burn ends every time you pull a brisket out. In tradition, you can cut off the tip ends, flats, you can get a few more because they're thinner, leaner. You get a little bit more into it, but you can also make sure that you've got big burn ends by taking that. And this one here, you can see that pepper across the top. It's got a nice bark on it. That's the Texas. You can't even tell the mustard was there anymore. It's gone, cooked down. But you can make burn ends to make sure you've got them. And people that like burn ends love burn ends. And I like to cut them just about bite size. No reason for them to be bigger than that. We're gonna put them in a bowl right here. We're gonna doctor these up to go back in. We're gonna use two of my house sauces today for this. One is our Hoosier Sweet. Got a lot of sugar sweetness to it. It's our favorite over there in the Midwest for our pork. If I can get it to pop off for you, there we go. We're gonna drizzle a little bit of that down on there. But I like a little bite with my burn end as well. So we're gonna also pull our Carolina vinegar sauce. It's made of paste and vinegar, spices and peppers. It's really nice. Splash of that in there, you get a little bite with that. This is also one of the best ways to make a wonderful carnita or pork tacos, to pour this on your pulled pork. Can't go wrong with that. And we're going to turn around and we're going to add a little extra rub and a little extra paprika in here so that we get a good sauce and crunch bite on those burnt ends. And we're going to flip these bad boys around there. Make sure they're all coated and toasted there. I've got a baking dish. It's pan sprayed. I'm going to lay them out flat. I can smell that vinegar sauce already. And we're going to go put these back in the oven. Today, you can put them back in the smoker if you've got time, but that higher heat in the oven really helps caramelize those out, crisp them up a little bit, and really get that true burn-in flavor profile. Let me throw those in the oven for you. All right, we're gonna wipe our board real quick, and I'm gonna show you a couple different slaws. Depending on what region you're from, you like two types of slaw. You're either gonna like the creamy, mayonnaise-based. We're gonna make my Huckabee slaw that my father created years ago. Perfect, fail-proof, works every time. We're also gonna make a Dijon vinegar slaw, which is another version as well. So you're either a vinegar fan or the mayo base. So we're gonna make both. You can make both, and then you can decide at home which way you prefer. But first, we'll start with the Huckabee slaw. And it's equal parts mayonnaise. And if you're my father, only Hellmann's will work. Anything else doesn't count. And red, all right, so equal parts mayonnaise and sugar. And that's close enough for chef chip measurements. Break those in just a little bit there. Start to mix that in. And then we're going to splash a quarter to half a cup of red wine vinegar. And again, we're going to enhance with a little bit of Chef Chip's Trinity. And we're just going to mix that in. And that's going to be our base, our coleslaw base for the Huckabee slaw. Slaw is great. It's simple. It's easy. It's great on a cold day. Can't go wrong. It's great on a pork sandwich. Nothing wrong with that at all. Got our base in there. We're going to add some shredded carrot, some shredded red cabbage. If you're making this the day before for a picnic, leave the red cabbage out. It's going to look purple tomorrow. That stuff bleeds, so if you're not serving it right away, leave that out. We're going to throw some green cabbage in there, and we're just going to fold it in. The vinegar, the mayonnaise, the sugar, it's going to react, it's going to break down, soften that slaw just a little, give it a little bit. But we've got Huckabee slaw ready to roll. Pop would be proud. Nothing wrong with that bowl there. So now we're moving on to our vinegar slaw. We're going to use apple cider vinegar this time. If you want to do a nice variation, get you some rice wine vinegar. It'll give you a nice sweet with the Asian, works really well. Slide a little pickled ginger in there, you're going to love that. Tab a nice spoon of Dijon mustard. We're going to put just a little kosher salt, black pepper, and I like a little pinch crushed red pepper in there. We're going to mix that up again. And now we're going to add a little bit of sugar. What I didn't steal already for the Huckabee slaw we'll put in there, just to give it a little sweetness to go with the cider vinegar. Once again, carrots, red cabbage, or green cabbage. And we're going to fold all that together. All good and wet. We're going to let that sit again. Let all that break down, and we'll just soften here for about 15-20 minutes here just to let that cabbage start to break just a little bit. So we still got crunch, but it's not too crisp yet. And we've got two beautiful slaws ready to rock and roll right there. Doesn't get a whole lot easier than that. So when we come back, we're going to start pulling some items out of the smoker. We'll get some food sliced up here and show you some great product. All right, we've got everything pulled out of the smoker. Our burn ends are finishing up in the ovens. So we're going to cut some of this up so you can see it and we can get ready to enjoy. So we're going to start right here. This is our house brisket. We got a little bit of rub on that. That's it. Kept it real simple. Again, this is the flat end. So you can see I've got some tips here. That would be your traditional burn ends. We're going to start from the small end towards the fat end. So that we cut, that'll keep it tender for us as we go. See that there? You can see the dark red from the smoke ring. So that's our standard rub only. Get that right up there and out of my way for you. Then we'll reach back around here and we'll get a piece of Texas brisket. Again, this way you can see. And this piece here is the decal. It's a little smaller on that particular piece of brisket. Wasn't real big, but it's, you see the sponge effect in it. That's from all that extra marble that you've got down in that decal that you don't have in that lean piece. And again, we'll start down on that soft side and work our way towards the fatter side. And it's just like cutting a sponge. Like that there, but you can see the pepper. Nice crust from the yellow mustard. And it's just so tender, so soft from all that beautiful fat that's hidden down inside there, all that marbling. Slide this one up here. I'm going to turn around. We're going to grab our pork butt now. Get it up here. And if you've done your pork butt right, got our bark, you find that bone, and it's going to literally just fall out. Doesn't get any better than that right there. It's exactly what you want. I'm so proud of that. I'll even let you look at it. There's nothing wrong with that at all. And if you've done it that way, then folks, there is nothing to pulled pork but pushing it down. And it's just going to crumble right away for you. If it doesn't, it's not been cooked long enough. Send it back in. Like I said, don't be in a hurry. Let it cook. The hardest part with smoking is getting used to leaving it in there. I always disliked the Ronco commercials. Got into smoked meats and I love those commercials. Set it and forget it. Let it go. But here we go. Just super tender, moist pulled pork. It's a beautiful butt for you right there. Our slaws are ready. We've got our Huckabee slaw here. Throw it over here on one side just so you can see the difference next to one another. Pretty simple. There's our slaws. And now a little bit of a crudité here. Almost as beautiful as a prime rib. One whole brisket. Standard house blend. The pork or the beef with just the kosher, the black pepper on top. Got a beautiful crunch. As I touch it, you can hear the crisp on the outside of the fat. It's tender underneath. Again, you can see all that. And like I've said before, if you cook it whole, leave it all there. And if you don't want all the fat in it, if you're one of those families that wants that pulled out, it's not a problem. You can literally just peel it right off. But it's honest to goodness. That simple. And it doesn't get any easier. We're cutting off that lean flat piece first, going back up in there. But there you go. So we've got our regular house, we've got our Texas, we've got our standard smoked house, our pulled pork, got a little bit of slaw. The only thing that's missing is the buns, and we're ready to make some sandwiches. Alright, so we've done some basics today. Slaw, 2 styles. We've done our brisket, 3 different rubs. Got our pulled pork here. Bone came out super clean. We're happy. At this point, like I said, all we need are some buns, maybe a little sloppy sauce. We're good to go. But tune in next time. We're going to have oysters, scallops, and mussels. It's going to be a great show.